Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Fisherman's Favorite Podcast. Today, we got Brosdahl on the show, along with Charlie Peterson. We're super excited to have Bro as our first guest here. We're going to talk kind of about his history in the fishing industry, what makes him as fishy as he is, and then also what he's looking for early ice. So it's going to be a super fun show. Make sure to tune in.
There's deer in the meadow, frogs in the pond, a place up the river where the fish are getting long. Bass in the lilies, crappie in the reeds, walleye on the rocks and pike in the weeds. There's a fella down the road who's a real fishing man, give you a stringer for the frying pan. Northland, fish and tackle, fisherman's favorite. It's a fisherman's favorite.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. And, I got to say that that tune in the beginning there, I've heard that for so many years, and it's catchy.
Yeah.
The Northland fishing tackle song, and there's people that still sing that around here and there.
We might have to start a air guitar contest because now we've filmed. This will be our second one we're filming. Not sure what order they're going to come out with, but both you and Joey were playing some air guitars, so... Yeah, might have to start a little contest up there.
Well, now you know who's got the ADD in the group right there, because I'm always, thinking ahead or behind or forward, all at the same time. But no, this is great. We do need something like this because there's a lot of Northland love out there in the ice belt, and I've seen it over many years. There's quite a fan base, quite a following, and quality tackle that when you tie on, it works every single time.
Yep. Well, that's one of the reasons we wanted to get you in here today, because you are one of our longest standing pro staff members. You've been in the fishing industry forever. Kind of just want to talk to you about how you got there, kind of the niches you found, and let the viewers get to know that story of you a little more, because it's pretty amazing.
Well, actually, all I did is I just pushed the easy button and it all happened. No, just kidding. It was a long road. I would say that my aim was not to get into the fishing industry. The fishing industry will find you either way, and it takes time. And I've always loved fishing. I could see myself doing nothing else. I mean, I've done a lot of different things, but I wanted to wake up in the morning and be in a boat, and guiding is the perfect job for that. And then promoting is fun, because in promotion, you have to catch fish, live, film them, hold them up. They have to be big. They have to look really good.
Yeah. So what would you say was the start of Bro becoming a professional fisherman?
Well, I would say that just being around the industry was real, back then was kind of around, but very basic. And I guess I was in the right circles, but I would say the big kickstart, and I was in the industry before this, but Northland Tackle was my first real sponsorship, where I actually got a sponsorship. Dwayne Peterson brought me in the office and sat me down and said, "Hey, we want to make this official." I was always around trying to help in designs, using lures, feedback, being a part of stuff, but just enjoyed it. And gave me a contract. I said, "You don't have to do that. I'll just use the stuff and tell people." He's like, "No, this makes it legit." And I really kind of never read it until I got home, and I was actually getting paid to do it, and I was getting product, and Heather's like, "Hey, did you read that?" And I'm like, "Not really." She goes, "You're getting money. Can you get more of these?" And that's how it all started. And I realized that there is a living to be made in fishing. And in the beginning, I did tournaments, guiding, just loved being a part of it, and kind of indirectly knew everybody in the fishing industry, because the fishing industry is small. Yeah. It doesn't matter if it's Minnesota or the Midwest or wherever. People who have shows need fishermen to find fish, because they have that day, They have camera people. They have to get it done. And so the phone would ring for that stuff. The guiding was good. It was a little slower start. I kind of guided for everything, for panfish, bluegills, and later realized that's one and done. You show the spot, and that spot has someone on it every day. And so I kind of went towards walleyes. In walleyes, when you leave a spot, it's safe because those things are on and off, but it's different. And ice fishing was a big deal, and I loved it. Ice fishing is still my favorite form of fishing. And I like ice fishing, but I love saltwater fishing. It's different, except you got to wash your reels and rods every day. Freshwater, open water. The only thing I still do it, but I don't like it, is when it's in the high 90s and the lake is flat calm. Not my favorite time to be out fishing, but it's better than nothing.
Yep. So would you say, you said, Northland's kind of the start of your, pro, kind of your spotlight career where you started to get in the picture, but is guiding where it all got started? Is that where you started making your money in fishing?
I would say so. It was, back when I started there, guiding was very territorial. It was hard to make a break. It's not like now you could do a website and you just can't stick a card up. Cards would disappear. It was through grassroots, word of mouth, and people came up because I was consistent. And I stressed to make sure they caught fish. And I thought to myself, guiding is more stress than tournaments. Tournaments are a vacation with a little bit of stress because you get to fish somewhere else, and you go out and you get to know a lake like you're a local, like you're a guide in that body of water, and then you have to weigh your fish. Well, you don't want to go up there with the smallest bag of fish. You don't want to have someone in front of you that can't close their box, and then you got yours, you can't even see your fish in there. And I've seen both sides. I've been up there when I had a monster catch, and I've been up there when I didn't do as good. But still, guiding was more stress because I know sometimes those families saved or waited a whole year to fish with me that day. So I always use that, and I took it serious.
Yep. So where did you start guiding? Was it around this area or?
Well, actually, I would say Leech Lake through Heather's family's resort was the start, and it was really quick, and people need to get out and catch fish. There's a lot of people with different skill sets, and so Leech was the first, and in the beginning it was pretty good, but Leech Lake started becoming tougher, and I think that's what really helped because the cormorants were eating the immature walleyes when they're just little fingerlings under the surface, and there was a huge pile of cormorants on that lake, and so it was not easy. We didn't have this technology where you could just chase fish down and see them. We had to use everything, the weather, the wind, and Northland tackle to produce fish, and it was fun. Every day was like a tournament, but it was super rewarding to see people catch fish. And when I first started, I didn't have the best boats. I did not have the best boats. I had boats that motors were pretty whipped out, but they still made it, and pontoons, old rental Alaskans, and it didn't take long before I started advancing my boat, and but just worked my way through it. Didn't have money, everything I did one piece at a time the whole way.
When did people start calling you bro? Was that something that was before you were in the fishing industry, or did that happen when you started getting into the fishing industry?
Well, actually, I've been known as bro my whole life. Okay. And so I get this question from family. In all the Brosdahls, or anybody with the bro, beginning of their last name, how did you end up being bro? And I said, you can't pick your nicknames. I didn't pick it, didn't like it, and I was stuck as bro from a kid all the way on. And there's people who still don't know my name's Brosdahl. I hear Brosdahl, Brosdahl, Brosenthal, Rosedale. They just don't know. And so safely people say bro. But there's still people calling me Bo. In Bros, in Bros, it's bro. what's up, bro? But it doesn't matter where I go. People remember bro. So as much as I hated that nickname, when I was a kid and for a long time, it's stuck, and now I love it.
So kind of good marketing.
Well, and then in school, way back in grade school, when the teachers call you bro, you're stuck.
Yeah.
And it could have been worse. I could have been called worse names, I guess.
Yeah.
Because some of the kids had worse names. So bro is a good thing.
Awesome.
So that kind of, the way you handle yourself, that kind of relates to what we want to talk to you next. And I'd like Charlie to hop into this conversation a little bit too, because Charlie does our pro staff stuff. He does all of our content management. But you are really good at staying relevant and staying in it. Charlie, what are some things like you see that bro is doing that kind of tops the rest? Why is bro what he is?
It helps that bro is obviously on the water almost every day guiding clients, but he's just so consistent at being able to promote, even though he's guiding clients every day. He's consistent on, posting on social media, going to shows, talking to people, being friendly to anyone that he sees. You see bro now, and doesn't matter who it is, they're going to say, hey, is that bro over there?
Exactly.
And then they're going to come talk to him. So
is that something, that kind of self-promotion, something you learned yourself, or is it something somebody taught you in the industry, or how'd you get so good at that?
Well, I would say that it's in the industry itself. I pay attention to what's going on, and there's so many pros or people who want to be pros. They go deer hunting in early fall, and then they come out in the middle of winter. I think there's a bow season, a rifle season, a muzzleloader. I think they have a netting and Rambo knife season. I don't know, but they come out in the middle of winter, and you just can't disappear. You can't hibernate. So even though I love ice fishing, and I'm kind of known as an ice fisherman, I love open water too. And I would say just don't disappear too long. And that's just it, is stay busy. And then our life is around promotion. I met Heather, and it's going to be our anniversary here this Sunday. And
well, happy anniversary.
Well, thank you. And she's on the same page, and she worked really hard when I met her. She ran a resort, cleaned 19 cabins, and we sometimes had a crew, sometimes we didn't, but everybody had their thing. I ran the dock and I guided, and I chose grills and garbage because they didn't talk to me. And so after all of those years of that, I kind of retired her from that kind of work to promotional side, and she's super good and self-taught on the internet, and I am too. But we work together at it, and I think when I'm guiding, it's ultimately important to show that I am guiding. If I could say that I guide or I do all this stuff, but I don't have pictures online, so I always like to make sure that people know. No, I'm not. I joke around with people. I say, "Can I take a picture of you with that fish?" They're like, "Oh, you don't have to." I said, "I need to." Why? I got to prove we weren't in a bar today.
Yep.
And then they laugh, and I say, "I'm just kidding." But I take the picture, and then you look on some sites, and there's none. And so I just want to make sure. And so the whole way, like I mentioned here when I was at the Sioux Falls show, I talked to a pro, a newer pro who's really doing well. I said, if you just come in here and do a seminar and leave, you haven't left any shadow, footprint, reverberation. I said, make sure at least spend time here, talk to people, because if nobody knows you're there, how can anybody think that you're pushing the needle? So I picked that up over the years, and remember, Dwayne Peterson gave me some great advice, and he didn't have to tell me too much. He just told me enough, and I was paying attention. And I did ask specific questions, and that's kind of important. But the real thing is, it's not overnight, and be loyal to a brand. Also, don't jump. to any conclusions and stay consistent. And it doesn't happen in a year. It's more like decade or decades.
Well, that is a really good thing about you. Like when you're talking about you're on the water, you're fishing, and I value that a lot in our relationship we have between product, content, because you're always a guy, especially being close really helped too. But you were always a guy we can we could rely on being like, hey, we need to go get some content on some crappies. Can we go out next week? And
it's fun stuff to do. I mean, everybody loves to do that stuff.
Or it was, we need to go test this walleye product. Or here, I'm going to mail you stuff. Because in the office, our full-time job is marketing this stuff, developing this stuff. We, unfortunately, don't get to be on the water every day like you can. So it's nice to have that guy that we can rely on to get out. And
product testing is a blast. I won't lie. It's fun when you get something new, and it really hammers fish. It is so much fun, and from lures to technology to clothes to just everything. If you get to try it, like for instance, one of the first Lake Master maps that came out, a year before it came out, I had Winnie. And so I'd have multiple spots and didn't realize they were all attached, and they'd have saddles and points. Kid in a candy store, and everything that you looked at was loaded with fish. Then a year later, everybody had the map. So that changed everything, but that was so much fun, and to have the Northland prototype lures from way back when and be a part of the designs, and how you could take my sketches and those renderings and turn that into an existing product in such a short amount of time is pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's another thing that I feel like you've really carved a spot out for yourself in the industry is the development of stuff. You've came up with a lot of stuff over the years that's kind of unique and really detail-oriented. Is that something even before Northland that you kind of tinker with baits, or did Northland kind of give you that opportunity to start making some of those ideas that were just always in your head?
I was always a tinkerer, and I'd like to make stuff, and even like with the puppets, go back 32 years ago, I was pitching stuff like that, and three casts cut 3 fish, but I didn't hone that craft. I moved on to the next thing, and plastics I used back then, and the thing is, it's fun trying something new. So when I'm guiding, if I have 3 people in the boat, those 3 are using what worked yesterday. I'm using something different. And sometimes you just get a ringer, something that really works really well, and it works for about a day or 2. Then you try something else, or you do 3 different things in a day, and it's fun. It's something I like to do, and to be in the fishing industry and getting paid to use stuff, promote it, and fish with it is fantastic. And then to do trips, and the trips are just a blast. But trips are not easy. Photo shoots are not easy. I've had photo shoots where it's 30 below zero and windy. I've had photo shoots where we're walking on slush, and if you break through, you're in 2 feet of water. And photo shoots where we have no chance because it's howling wind. And I've had guide trips in all those same conditions with people, and they're like, okay, so what do I do now? And they don't even know anything about ice fishing, and you're out there just trying to survive. But that's what helps you sharpen your edge and become faster, and then make decisions. Because we've had a lot of shoots where we've made decisions to hurry up and run to another place based on shoreline, based on wind protection, based on clarity of the water, and watching the sun, moon, every app there is. And you have to make those decisions, but you can't jump. You just got to kind of weigh it out.
What's the wildest story thing that's kind of happened to you on a shoot before?
Oh, the wildest thing, I would say, I've been on shoots before, big shoots, and I've walked on the moon. I've caught mermaids. I've been abducted by aliens. on shoots, and you're like, really? You know, they tell you what's going to happen, what they're going to have you do. And there was one shoot that didn't happen, but I was supposed to get Bigfoot was supposed to steal my clothes and walk away with them. And I'm glad that one didn't happen because it was cold out. And the whole idea of having a bunch of people throw me out of a fish house onto the ice didn't sound fun. So I'm glad that one didn't happen. But there's a lot. But the moonwalk, I ran and I drilled holes through super deep snow, deep slush, and I had to pull it up as high as I can. And I had to jump with my feet up like this. Well, do that just once. I'm out of breath. So do that 70 times, and I'm wiped out in the dark, 10 to 1 in the morning, with all kinds of lights and special effects gear and equipment, generators, and I'm running and jumping and drilling holes because I'm on the moon. And I just remember this. I overheard one of my good friends, Bill Linder, say, I think our second shot was the best. And I was looking for him. I wanted to kill him after that.
That sounds like I can hear Billy saying that right now.
Yeah,
but.
And the same with the alien shoot. I was being abducted, and they're shooting me from a great distance, and little by little, everybody left. And they're still having me, they're doing time-lapse. And I realized they just flat out forgot. They started having a pizza and eating and carrying on, and by the time I got up there was no shoot. So I guess that was one of the funny things, too. Unintentional, but some of those shoots are long, but they're creative and fun. So I couldn't imagine what they do in Hollywood because the fishing shoots, some of them are real extensive.
Do you remember the moonwalk shoot at all, that commercial?
No, but I think we're going to have to pull that up, or at least I'm going to have to see
We'll see if we can find it, because and hopefully this isn't aging you. So you're probably too young for it, because I was young. I was watching fishing shows as a kid when that commercial was out, but it's probably one of the most memorable ice fishing commercials ever. You know, Bro was all in his get up, and they kind of made it look like he was slow motion, no gravity, and the way the snow was crusted over it looked like he was on the moon.
And they had to do it super dark when it's really dark.
You know, the intercom guy going 3, 2, 1. You know, it was a really cool creative commercial. And I remember you telling me that story about you shot it over and over and over, and Billy's like, I think we got it on the second one.
Well, in some of my moves with sponsorships, I've shot commercials at other places, and then so I caught a mermaid, and it was really funny. And you know, we had special effects and houses spinning, and then there's a mermaid that appears on my lap taking the hook out, and that one kind of disappeared. But you know, I'm not representing that sponsor anymore. But it just it tells you it's fun. And for a while there, after that, the moonwalk and the alien abduction, there was kids that were looking at me like I was a cartoon, you know, because I was always out there, and probably adults too. But it was fun. It was really cool.
It's kind of funny to see how the industry's changed, because I feel like even, you know, in my 7-8 years in it, that some of the creativity has gone a little bit away now, and now it's different. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's good, but everything's so real now.
Yeah.
You know, early on, there's a lot of big production shoots, you know, fancy things to kind of set the scene, set the mood. But now it's more like the vlog style. You know, you can get your $500 camera and go make a really good piece of content, or whatnot.
That equipment's better.
I say that sells more than these shoots that used to cost 20, 30 grand to do.
Yeah.
Like, so it's kind of interesting how that's changed from.
Yeah, I mean, you can take a backpack full of equipment and get a lot of that same stuff, or just shoot on your phone and get what's happening right now, you know, documented. And that's how we do a lot of our shoots.
The equipment didn't exist like that. This micro equipment, and you know, from the GoPros and the cameras and the regular cameras and cell phones and all this equipment and these recording devices. This stuff didn't exist. It was high-end stuff, and it does really well. But I think it'll come back. I think right now it's the real deal. It's the social, the influencer kind of thing like that, and I think it all comes back to production eventually, because Everything seems to be going through a cycle, and that's how it was before. Before that, you know, but it was a lot of fun. It's just being a part of some of that.
I mean, if you look at some of like the old commercials for different, you know, that you'd see on TV, there was a lot more kind of crazy, weird stuff that they used to do, and now it's not quite like that. But
yeah, I think you're right that it might come around because it went from like super creative, you know, highly edited. Like you look at some of these old, you know, not even stuff that was part of us, but like some of the old like commercials that would run on Bassmaster or whatnot, and they're pulling up fish, and they're like, that fish has been dead for like 3 days, you know.
Yeah.
And now, you know, you have stuff, and people are coming in and like, oh, that fish's gills aren't moving. It must be dead, you know. So it's changed like that. But I went from like the super creative stuff that was kind of really, you know, highly scripted and set up, and then it got to like super raw and intense. But I think that's kind of getting used up, and now kind of some of that creativity in a different style is coming back.
Digital format really changed things because just remember this. Now, this is after the wheel was invented, but we didn't have digital. We had regular film in the cameras when I started, and you had to wait till it was developed. Mm-hmm. And they would look at it with you know, their glasses and stuff like that to check it out, and the video would just take a lot of tapes and stuff, and now it's digital, and you can see it right away.
Yeah,
you know, so it's fishing has changed a lot in the last 3 decades. It's unbelievable, but it's still the same, you know. And there's still going to be pros. There's still going to be companies that need pros, because no matter what, you can put it out on the shelf, and then if it doesn't sell and becomes dusty, the next company's going to take that spot. So you got to keep the stuff out there. And pros got to keep the stuff out there. Just remember, pros, it's not how good you can catch a fish. It's how you can move the needle. If you can help the sale in it, and I truly cared about the sales of all the products at all bank companies, just like their friends. The company is my friend, you know. And if you really want a company to want you, you got to have a way to sell it. You know, there's so many people, I can catch fish, so you got to sponsor me. And this is what I need. And it's like, that's not how it works. Can you help the product leave the store and be bought? And I think that's important, whether it's, and don't just say what you could do, write it down, and then give it. Like with ideas. There's people who say, well, I came up with that idea. I mentioned it to somebody, but did you have the sketch, the sizes, the colors, everything written down, how you'd want to use it, what it looks like, what it would sell for? And that's just it. When you do that and you pass it in, that's how the stuff gets made. And I kind of guess that's what I did. I always made sure I had the details, because how are you supposed to know where I'm going to go with a product? And then as far as sponsorship, I always wondered what I could do. Then I found out I can get. So whatever you could do, you could get.
Yeah. I think that's, you know, from what I've seen, the best pro staffers that we've added are the people that come saying, hey, here's what I can do for you. The people that come in saying, what can you do for me? They're unfortunately not even worth the time of day of looking at, because
it's too bad, but they're missing it. And
they're missing it.
But if they knew, and I think that with you know, organizations like the NAPAA, they're teaching a lot of stuff. But you know, I didn't go into fishing to be a pro at office or a pro at sales. I went into fishing to fish. But if something really worked and I'm like, this is really cool, I can't wait to tell people, or how I use it, you got to have honesty in it. And you can't just say I went out fishing and never be there, or just go for an hour. You got to put your time in, and people will know. And there's a lot of people that love fishing, and being a pro is for you. And remember, we don't last forever, so we need some new ones to come up. And heed the advice that I got from Dwayne Peterson a long time ago, and John. John was he had so much advice about making stuff and staying true to it in every aspect of the fishing industry, from Al and Ron Linder to Jimmy Linder and Doug Stange. I listened to what he said. The times we shot, I listened to everything he said. There's some real good advice out there. So I've shot a lot of shows, a lot of different TV shows, and some don't exist anymore. But you know, if you look at TV shows, it's been between TV shoots and everything, it's been over 300, maybe closer to 400. So that's a lot, and it's just doing what I do, take someone fishing.
Yeah, and two, you know, so that kind of used to be, again, the big production thing, the TV shows and stuff. But I think self-produced content is so huge right now. Like, Charlie, if someone was looking to kind of make their stamp in the industry right now, like what are you looking for in a you know, a person as a promoter for us?
Well, kind of like what Bro said, you can't just come in looking for something in return. Like, you kind of have to put your time in, and that's what Bro did. That's what a lot of guys did that are successful in the industry and, you know, have contracts where they're getting paid. They put their time in before they ever received anything in return, and
you know, push that needle and whatnot.
Yeah, and another thing is, like, to do that, you got to stay engaged. You got to keep asking, you know, what can I do to help?
Yep.
And then executing on that and just staying consistent. And one thing that Bro has done is stayed consistent for a long period of time, and he's had to adapt to, like, the different changes.
As I say, I think you're really good at doing some of that self-producing content. You know, you guys are always putting stuff out there, always taking photos.
And you know, it's hard to do sometimes because today I wish I could have done it. It was 30 something mile an hour winds, and it just, there's no way. Everything was really tough, but you need to do good content, catch fish, teach something, sell something, and do it simple and from the heart, and you'll do really well. And don't give up if it doesn't happen overnight, because it will happen. I guarantee you, if you're built for it, if you know, and just be calm. If you know, feel like you want to beat someone up all the time, this ain't the industry for you. If you're an angry person, this is for calm, and you'll go a long way. And like I said, I never looked for the industry. It picks you. It really does. And you could ask Heather when I met. I said, I'm not. This isn't really me. But you become the person that that you are. I was kind of a relatively shy person, and but you don't have a choice but to talk when you're on guide trips.
Yeah.
And now I've done videos where I've had to sing, and I'm not a singer, but you just do it, right?
Exactly. I feel like I can relate to that a little bit. That I was, you know, when I was younger, I was kind of shy. In fact, my dad told some of his coworkers now that, you know, we do the Bro Roadshow podcast, which make sure to check that out too. That's Bro's podcast. We do kind of pre-ice season. But he's telling some of his coworkers that he's like, oh yeah, Sam does this podcast. And they're like, Sam? But the more you talk and the more you do it, it's easier to learn. I remember when I was an intern at Northland, I shot like my first video that I was the person in the video, and I literally ran out of space in the SD card before I could finish the video, because, you know, you just start talking and you don't say it right and you redo this, and by the end of it, it was just a mess. But practice. And I think those are the, you know, the young people that I see are really good, started at a young age.
Yeah.
And you're going to have some fails in there, and it's going to be a learning curve, and it's going to be tough, but the more you do it, the better you get it. You can't just snap into it.
My advice for those who freeze up when you're shooting, this is what I've always thought of. When I go up on stage, and I've had seminars of over 400, and I've had seminars of, you know, 4, 5, 6, 8 people, because there's no signs on the building. But when you go on stage, treat it like it's a bait shop. When I walk into a bait shop, I talk to everybody. I hope they're having a great time, hope they're catching fish, and treat each seminar and each visit or wherever you go, whatever you got to do where there's a lot of people or camera, like a bait shop. We're all in a bait shop right now, talking about Northland fishing, and I'm going to dig my own minnows out of there if they'll let me.
That's why we decided to start the podcast here, is because we're all fish heads. We all come in after the weekend, and we sit and talk for half an hour, maybe longer sometimes, about what we did and what we're doing. And we're constantly talking about that stuff, and we said, you know what, why don't we just start recording it?
Well, you guys do a lot of tournaments. I mean, everybody in this office does tournaments, and they call it the lunch money. But who got the lunch money in the last tournament? I always love it because you guys are always after each other, and it's very interesting because it's up and down and back and forth. But I think, Sam, you got a target on your head now.
I know. Well, so kind of a fun thing in the office, and I'm kind of feeling bad for throwing you guys under the bus on this, but in the office, there's a rule that if you win a derby, a big derby, you got to bring in donuts for everyone. So it's kind of fun to bring in donuts, but there's two people that still owe some donuts here. So Charlie and Jace, I'm not gonna let you forget it until those donuts show up one of these days.
Charlie's here, and he's had a chance to win tournaments so many times. Jace has been a part of the Falls Bass wins, and then these guys won the Bemidji tournament, which is a really super tough tournament, the walleye tournament. Yep. There's nowhere to hide, and every fish is hooked twice.
That's what the donuts are for.
Yeah, so they've won, and now you've won. So it's interesting, but the tournament thing's fun. But one thing I will say, that the bass tournament's a little different. Nobody cares about what they got on their lines. Their rods are hanging out of the boat. And everybody talking and have a good time. Walleye tournaments, everything's hid. Everybody's quiet. Not much is said, but everybody knows everything. And it's crazy. There's two different things. I would say in bass, it's a little bit more, it seems a little more hip, but walleye's getting there because now walleye is turning bass. And all the bass techniques that are transitioning into walleye are great. With forward viewing, a lot has changed. And there are those names that you see before forward viewing and the names you see after. They're the same names. They've adapted, and there's a bunch of them now that seem to do super well. The tournaments you're going to have on the show that are Northland guys, and it's fun. In tournaments, I used to be at the top, and now I'm only at the top lately if you turn the page upside down. But at least I did it. I'm not afraid to put my name on the line, and you can't always have good tournaments. You lose fish, you catch fish. It doesn't matter if you could see them. Yep. They could still spit the hook. Stuff happens, and every tournament that I've noticed in the last couple of years is a record weight over the next one. The next one is a record weight. Every tournament, bass or walleye. It's just amazing, and it's fun, and I think it's all good for the industry.
Yeah. Well, that's a huge thing that walleye fishing we're seeing is getting younger than it's ever been in the last few years. And Charlie and Jace, you're multi-species guys, but I'd say you're more you guys are more on the bass side. But you started fishing that Knights of Columbus walleye tournament, and you and Jace were able to compete with the top, because I think kind of the fishbone's the fishbone, and especially understanding the technology and forward-facing sonar has totally changed how we walleye fish now. Yeah,
I mean, I'd definitely say that I'd like to go out bass fishing, probably that's what I prefer.
Yeah.
But I like to catch any type of fish, so walleye fishing on Lake Bemidji, done that for all my life. So, as soon as we had a chance to get into that tournament and fish it together, I had that confidence right at the beginning that, we could catch them.
Was that your first time in it, too, that you guys won?
No, we fished it the year prior, we got 6th.
I said you're top 10, though.
Yeah. I guess probably the first tournament, just wanted to probably catch a limit,
Yeah.
But I remember catching, a 24.5-incher, and we just needed, one more to, really push it, and that's kind of we got a lot of confidence from that, and we were really excited going into the second year, and then we ended up winning that year, and it was pretty crazy.
I think that's the cool thing about tournaments. Like you said, the first time it was I just hope we can catch a limit. But a tournament, I really like tournaments for kind of the critique aspect of it. You can see where you ended up in the pack for that day. You can go out there and think you're the best fisherman in the world and enter a tournament, and some of those people lose every time. And then you can go out there and be like, oh, I'm not that good. And you start fishing tournaments and you realize you start winning. So when you get to be able to compete against people, that's what I really like, the aspect of tournament fishing.
Something that probably drives a lot of tournament anglers kind of crazy, but I like to look back at is like you can look at your result and then think about all the things that happened throughout the day and what could have went differently. And then you can think about, what happened that was good, that say if that didn't happen, then look at where we would have been. We jumped 20 places from catching that one fish, and we didn't even think we were doing that good.
Exactly.
And you just learn every time you go out and compete. One thing that I think every tournament angler should do when they're going into an event is you should think you're going to win.
Yeah, for sure.
Because if not, then you're just going to donate your money.
Yeah. That's something that I've learned. I need to be more like aggressive coming in thinking that you're going to be able to compete.
But then like throughout the day, you get thoughts in the back of your head like, well, we're only got 3 hours left. I don't know if we're going to win this time, but you just got to keep going at it because it can always happen pretty fast.
Catch a lot of fish in a short amount of time, that's for sure. It's on trips. If it starts out slow on a guide trip, I remind people that I've placed high in tournaments in the last 20 minutes. And, you could do that all day. I like to do that all day. The last 20 minutes of a tournament, you watch how people fish. I want to do that all day. And so if fishing is fun for you, this is the place for you. Northland's a great place, and the stuff works. And where it's going, this is a really hip company. It's got a lot of cool products. It's got super glows. It's got unique lures and tungsten and stuff. And I've seen a lot of changes, but it's really cool. And it's staying relevant, and it's fun to be a part of. But one thing to remember, everybody out there that wants to be a pro, maybe you're already a pro just looking for other companies, is you got to love fishing because, if you're just a part-time person that just wants to fish once in a while, because fishing is fun, and it's what we do. It's like football is to other people, fishing is to us, and it's more than just catching and killing a bucket of fish or a handful of fish. It's about being out there. In the fishing world, I'll see people for days, weeks on the lakes here and there, and they never introduce themselves. I don't know who they are. It's just, hey, how are you? And I always make sure to introduce myself, and that's how you start stuff. And just don't disappear. Leave a footprint. Leaving a footprint means don't just breeze through a place or leave right away. Leave a footprint. And I've always been one of those guys that likes to visit afterwards and stuff like that. Yep. And even in tournaments, I've learned in the FLW and the National Walleye Tour, some of the top pros will go out one day after the tournament or 2 days after the tournament to see what they did wrong, or just to fish for fun. But a lot of times it's relative to learning something you didn't understand at the time. And I've seen a lot of stuff from trolling bass spinners through brush to pitching. In the old days, trolling in the Great Lakes turned into casting now, casting baits. And that's with forward viewing. We're learning that you don't have to troll. And it's one of my guide mantras. Instead of getting a fish every pass, I want to get a fish every cast.
Yeah.
And I've been saying that for years, because you could troll all day long and you're driving by fish, and I can't drive by fish. I got to stop and fish them. But remember, don't kill the patient. What I mean by that is just take a few drops of blood. Don't take pints. So when you get a school of fish in clear water, if there's 20, 30 fish, catch a handful of them and then leave them. If you take too many, that school's done, and they won't be there the next day if you're on vacation. Just take a few, and it adds up to a nice day, but not to take too many, because when you do, you kill the patient, and the fish will leave.
So, we talked a lot about your ability to promote and whatnot, but you're also one of the best anglers I know. Like, seems like you always know how to read what the fish are doing. What do you credit that to? Do you think, is it time on the water? Is it, kind of that tournament guiding mentality that you got to beat them every day? Like, how did you get to be where you're at?
I've seen so much, and a lot of it's weather related, where I think we're not going to do that good. We don't even have a limit. And then a straight line wind, wall clouds not too far away, and we catch and release 62 walleyes in 4 hours. And it's just crazy. And I've also seen perfect weather, and the fish are just not biting. They're swimming away. There's something agitating them. And I've seen where walleyes will not bite, and an entire field of tournament people aren't catching them, and the pike are just biting lines, going nuts. The northern pike population just explodes. Everybody's catching them. Then in the last hour, everybody in the tournament gets their bag. And so I've seen it all. You never give up hope because it always changes, and weather is such a controlling factor. So I like to think positive. I think that I'm going to get them any second now, but I also, if it's not going, I put gas for the motor. And that's why I like to have a boat that's a little faster and can go across big waves because I don't leave things to chance, not when there's lots of areas. But I never have fish that stick around. They always keep you guessing. And that's what I love about it. I think it's more fun to find fish than to catch them. If that sounds crazy, it's fun finding biting fish.
So we've talked a lot about your history, guiding, but let's talk about the future. Ice is just upon us. Like, what are you looking forward to this ice season?
Oh, I love ice. The nice thing about early ice is there's not a lot of traffic on a lot of the lakes. That whole lake is out there. There's a handful because there's a lot of people love it now. And you have this big body of water that you could walk on. There's no boat needed. You could access from places normally that you wouldn't be able to go because you could walk. You take your 2 feet, put some cleats on, and drag a sled, a little otter tub full of stuff. And early ice is fantastic. It's the fall bite continuation under the ice, and the fish are active. You actually see them. They come through. You get a lot of chances to catch fish. There's it's traditions. Like going to Red Lake is a big tradition for us at Northland here. Mm-hmm. We love going there. We all catch fish, and it's just a great thing. You get some fish to eat. You get some bigger throwbacks that seems early ice. We get a lot of big fish. And I would say ice, it's the fact it's so accessible. It's so affordable. That's why it's exploding. It's on fire. It's not about the big wheelhouse. That's nice because you got this posh ice camper that goes on the ice. To me, I'd rather be on a long track sled with all my gear and just move around. If you haven't sat on a snowmobile, it's the best seat in the house because it's a nice soft couch, and you got you could cover some water, and I like fishing outside even if it's cold. My fingers get colder than you used to, but I've had frostbite and just out in some super cold stuff, lake trout fishing, remote fishing, and but I love being on the sled.
You like going where other people can't get to, and you've had some pretty wild vehicles over the years. Talk about, were you kind of the one that started innovating some of those stuff, or did you take it from some of the areas you went? Or
early on, and this goes back 20 years, I've had long track snowmobiles, because snowmobiles, the best ice fishing machine. Side-by-sides on tracks are nice, but as I showed you last year, you could get super hyper stuck that almost need a bobcat to come get you because they high center and they get super buried. But snowmobile's still the best. You just hardly ever get stuck. You throttle through, and they do snowmobile races on water. So what does that tell you? And then I would say that long track sled many years ago, because I remember I was at some grand openings at stores where I had a long track sled with satellite radio, CD player, quick transducer and camera holsters, and stuff on the back of the sled from house to gear. Everything was there ready to go, and I pulled my trailer with people on it, and there's other people that did that too, but we all learn from each other. And I had this tricked out sled, but I didn't put the stereo on for fishing on the ice. I put it on to draw kids to the sled at the store. You put music on, they come over, and they become interested in ice. When I was on the lake, I never put music on. And that's something that people always wondered, did you ever play it out there? I said, no, I didn't. But I've had trucks.
You sing yourself.
I sing, yeah. And even I can't sing, but I like to sing. So I've used trucks. Mm-hmm. So my first truck on tracks was a FJ Cruiser, and it was pretty cool. Boy, you could go anywhere with that thing. So you hardly get high-centered because the snow isn't deep enough.
Yeah, because it was set that tall.
Yeah, but you can get stuck in slush piles where there's crust that busts up. You high center yourself on a big nest of crust, and I've only been stuck once, but I wasn't stuck. I just chiseled my way down a little bit because I didn't want to cut all the brake lines and everything. I was really in a haystack of ice. Outside of that, the truck on tracks was cool. Then I went with a 4Runner on tracks, and Chesterburg down the road here. They've always been good to me and get me stuff at a good price. And the FJ was too nice. It was too nice.
But it got you a lot of media. I remember, again, when you had the FJ was before I was with Northland, before I was in the industry. And some of those cool vehicles, you and other pro staffers are just like timeless. Like Brad had that track vehicle that looked like something out of Star Wars, and you had the FJ. So I feel like having those unique vehicles not only helped you fish, but it got some press for it too.
It's media, and I like the track trucks, but I'll never miss dragging one behind the truck because we have a lot of black ice, a lot of real slippery roads, and you got 5,000 pounds back there. And, it's the same thing with making a bigger tracked vehicle or a van or a Suburban or even a Sherp. When they first came around, first time I seen was in North Dakota, and this guy had a big old four-wheeler looking thing, really cool, and you could deflate the tires and inflate the tires and all this stuff. And I've just decided I want something that's light back there, but can go anywhere. And so,
and the light helps you. Like I've always said, it's good to know you, because I got smaller vehicles or vehicles with less traction. So if I get stuck, and I can always call you, and you can get me out. You don't want to be in the heaviest vehicle getting stuck, because then you have nothing to be able to pull you out.
No, I've had to call friends, and I've had four-wheelers on tracks get stuck in by shore through the ice, and I've had to get them out myself, go in the water, and I don't want that no more. So I've got a side-by-side crew cab on tracks, trailers. I don't even know what's back there. It's so light. I got a super wide track sled.
We buried it.
We buried it.
And we were able to winch it out.
And we winched it out. It was so stuck that I have an ice kit where you drop down and you hook on the ice and then you winch it. Yeah. The winch shut off everything because it was grounding out. And so we had to dig with our feet and with scoops and everything. The slush was hard and compact. You could break a piece of wood on it.
I think we could have taken your tracks off without a jack.
Yeah, you could move the tracks. And so I thought we went through, it was so deep, that slush pocket, but we hit a deeper one on the way out of there. So we finally got out. We shook it like monkeys on the side. I hit the winch. I had it in low gear, and I revved it super high, and it moved a little. Yeah. And then we worked on it a little bit, and we got it to move a little bit more. We got it up, and I had that thing revving. I thought the gears were going to come through the box, and we hit a bigger, deeper slush pocket, and good thing we were flying.
I remember I just held onto the bar and looked forward and was like, hopefully we don't stop through this one.
I still think you were breathing hard at shore when we were all done.
We made it. Well, that first time we got stuck, we both kind of got out and looked at each other, and we didn't really say anything, but I think the thought was, because it was late ice, not too many people are out there. It was like, if we can't get this thing out, what are we going to do?
Bobcat. It's going to be a bobcat or a skid steer of some kind, but I didn't want to do that.
No.
That's no fun. That's no way to end the trip, but I could say, though, so I got the long track sled is the way to go. And you know what's better than a long track sled? A second one. and I got to throw one in for Willcraft because it's a boat, four-wheel drive hydrostatic boat with hydraulics on wheels. And I will own one someday, but I just can't do it yet, but I'm going to get one. But if you get one, you better have two. And that's a true statement because I've used them, and I just went too fast. And you can get out of anything, but it's easier for a second person to throw a rope, tie it to a cleat, and pull you out.
Yeah.
Two Willcrafts, you're going to go anywhere you want to go. But for now, long track, super wide track, big sled with everything on it, OtterBox, loaded with Northland tackle and gear, and we're set. Dress warm, go outside and fish, right?
That's right. Coming soon.
Yes.
So what early ice bite are you looking forward to the most?
You know, it's great. I love fishing red, and I like the walleyes. I like eating them, but I really like catching super giant largemouth bass, like really big ones, 4, 5, 6 pounders, maybe even bigger than that, and big pike and all that. I'd light tackle. That doesn't sound like it would make sense, but we catch them.
Because you can't catch the bass, up here all year round.
No,
It's like early and late ice, but
Yeah.
shallow lakes bite really well early. And so I have that kind of bite, and you could do 2 bites in a day. That's the thing about ice fishing. You're not transporting water. You're not doing anything. You just drive on, drive off, walk on, walk off. You could hit a couple different places, and you could fish for largemouth, northern perch, pumpkin seeds, and then go to a lake that has crappies, bluegills, and a walleye at bite. There's so many different lakes. I have fished thousands of lakes, but I have thousands to go in Minnesota. And I love fishing North Dakota. Devil's Lake is cool. All the lakes around there. Everybody's cool out there. I got a lot of friends. South Dakota's fun. The UP had a great time there last year, a couple photo shoots. It's really, there's so much. And then Canada's here. Who has time to work?
Tell me about it.
But, you got to do your thing. But there's so much to do. And there's family to visit in Florida, but, boy, it's hard to leave the ice.
Yeah. So, no, it's been an awesome show. We really appreciate you coming on. We're all going to be at the St. Paul Ice Show coming up here. Charlie, dates?
December 1st through the 3rd.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll be in the Northland booth, but also in the Otter booth. Can't wait to show you them super giant vortex houses. I'll be in a lot of different places. St. Croix's going to be in the house. And so I'll be visiting a lot of cool places. Stop by Aquaview. But I will be a lot in the Northland booth. We're going to do a podcast live from the show.
Yeah. Great show. We appreciate you coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks, bro.